On a quiet July evening in 2022, a 16-year-old Susanna Morales started a walk home that should have taken her less than 9 minutes. She lived in a familiar Norcross, Georgia apartment complex and had just left a friend's place nearby. But Susanna never made it home. For 7 agonizing months, her family searched, holding on to a hope that was ultimately shattered when her skeletal remains were found in a wooded area 20 miles away. The investigation into her disappearance would unravel a horrifying truth. The person responsible was a man sworn to protect, a police officer who lived just doors away. Susanna Morales was the youngest of 3 daughters, a bright spot in her family's life. On the night of July 26, 2022, she texted her mom that she was walking home from a friend's apartment at the Sterling Glen complex, the same one where she lived. As the hours stretched on with no signs of her, her families were returned into panic. When they tried to report her missing, police allegedly told them to wait, which goes against Georgia's state law that has no mandatory waiting period for missing persons. That initial failure became a haunting theme in the long fight for justice. For months, the case went cold. It was as if Susanna had simply vanished. Then on February 6, 2023, a passerby made a devastating discovery in a patch of woods nearly 20 miles from where she was last seen. The skeletal remains were quickly identified as belonging to Susanna Morales. Her family's worst fears had come true. But with their grief came a furious demand for answers. The discovery finally gave investigators a crime scene, and while processing the area, they found something that would crack the case wide open. A handgun. That gun was traced back to a 22-year-old Doraville police officer named Miles Bryant, who had reported it stolen. Miles Bryant wasn't just a police officer. He also worked as a courtesy security officer and lived in the very same Sterling Glen apartment complex where Susanna was visiting her friend. Suddenly, the investigation had its prime suspect. Detectives dug into his digital life, and the evidence they found was damning. Cell phone data from Bryant's personal and work phones placed him in the area where Susanna disappeared on the night she went missing. Even more chilling, the data showed him traveling to the remote woods where her body was later found. His story about the stolen gun completely fell apart, with prosecutors arguing he lied to distance himself from the murder. It also came out that he had a history of stalking and harassing women, yet his references were reportedly never checked when he was hired for his security job. In a trial that concluded on June 12th of 2024, Miles Bryant faced a jury. His defense admitted he left Susanna in the woods but claimed there was no proof he killed her, suggesting she might have overdosed. But the prosecution painted a much darker picture of a predator who snatched a teenage girl near her home. After deliberating, the jury found him guilty of malice murder, felony murder, kidnapping, and filing a false report. He was, however, acquitted of attempted rape. Judge Tamela Adkins sentenced Miles Bryant to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the sentencing, Bryant offered a brief, flat apology to the family whose lives he had destroyed. The conviction brought a legal end to the case, but it can never fill the void left in the hearts of Susanna's family. Though their Justice for Susanna campaign, they fought tirelessly, not just for a conviction, but for a real change so no other family has to endure their nightmare. The case exposed shocking failures in how missing person cases are sometimes handled, and how police officers are vetted. Susanna Morales' story is a tragic reminder that evil can hide behind a badge, and that the deepest betrayals often come from those who we are taught to trust the most. The details of this case are incredibly disturbing. What do y'all think about the systematic failures that allowed a predator like Miles Bryant to wear a uniform? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, respectfully. And if you believe these stories need to be told, please subscribe for more in-depth true crime investigations.